Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is International Match Benny Chang, and today I'm going to be doing a cast on a game that has already been played. It's not going to be live, and it's going to be a lower quality as well. This will be very instructional because I like to have different type of variety. I'm not going to play like GMs versus IM or IM versus FN, that kind of stuff. This is going to be more instructional, more like an entry level kind of game. So what I've been teaching, so recently I've been teaching at this NHS Lab every week, and I've been pretty much telling the folks there to specialize in certain types of openings. And one opening I told them to do is the French. Hence why I am analyzing this game, because this is the French. So we're going to be looking at what to do and what not to do in this type of French opening. And so far we have knight 2, Tarrasch, very normal, c5, yep, that's correct. So far it's so good. Now 3. Alright, so now usually what black has to do is either play knight c6 or take on d4, something like this could happen, knight f6. This could be played. He could also decide to play something like knight f6 immediately. This causes there's some lines here with like bishop b5, that kind of stuff. Usually you want to do something in the center, especially if white decides to play knight f3. This kind of like a slower type of system. White doesn't really reveal his intentions. But here, Tenor decides to play queen c7, and this move isn't bad on its own, just that it doesn't really do anything for center. You really have to clarify something here, because if you don't, then usually the best line for white here, I would say, just take, and just check here, and just like complete your development, queen 2 check. And this is actually a really important move, queen 2 check, because now this forces bishop e7, and after just castling, white does have a quite a lead in development here, and actually black has to be really careful how he moves his pieces. For example, if he plays knight f6, white can always go rook e1, throwing this, and now this is a bit of a problem because black can't really take here, because if he does, takes, let's say queen c6, takes, white just merges with the clear pawn. It's actually really clear, because knight b3, knight e4, bishop e3, this pawn is protected, a5, a4. It's gonna be really hard for black to get this pawn back. So this is a bit of a problem. So that's why queen 7 is definitely not one of the moves that I would recommend for people to play. But unfortunately, white didn't follow in this matter. He just played bishop c3 instead, which I guess I understand why, because like if you don't really know what you're doing in these suppositions, it's hard to figure out what to do. Just that if black plays it slow, white should go for this like quick bishop b5, queen 2 stuff. It's very strong. c3, b6. So b6 is pretty much, I think it's kind of slow. I think black has to play knight f6 now. He has to really get something going in the center, because now he just, now he just really tempting white to just take here and do bishop d3, and this is fine, because black is way behind development, and I don't think this is a good idea for black to go into. But instead, what white does is bishop d3. So now this is still fine. I mean, it's perfectly fine. So just castle, and white's gonna have a big lead in development. So he plays c4, and this is a move that I'm not sure about as well. As a French player, you can't really close c4 unless white tempts you with a3, because you have to have some kind of weakness on b3 in order to make this work. And the center has to be closed as well. The center right now is open, and that's a big problem, because c4 doesn't really do much for your development of your pieces. Black has no pieces developed, white has 3, and he's going to castle pretty soon, and the center is still open. So this is quite a big problem. And c2, bishop e7. Now we see e5. This is definitely a bad move here. White has had so much in development, and you gotta keep this position open. You gotta play something like just castle right away, and the idea is maybe take some d5, knight e5. White has a huge lead in development, and this is a problem. For example, knight f6. You can just take this guy right away. Knight e5, let's say castle. And I mean, white has a lot of choices here. First of all, you can go rook e1, and one idea is rook e1, just knight f1. After knight d7, you can go bishop f4. This is kind of strong. Bishop d6, this is fine as well. You can just play knight d3, going for knight f5. I mean, obviously the game would not end like this kind of per se. But there's also room for improvement. For example, you can just play rook e8 here. And I think that this might be okay for black. Maybe queen d4, knight d7. No, this is actually really risky. I'm not too sure exactly how this goes, but it looks like white does have some comp. And obviously you don't have to play like this, but it's just an example to show what white can do if the position is open. He doesn't really want to close it up like this. Maybe even here he doesn't want to do that. He just play rook e1 because you're never really threatening to take this guy because now this pawn's kind of weak. And I mean, if you take this way, then white's always going to have a big lean development queen here, so something like this could happen. A5 takes. If you castle, well then it's going to be some funky stuff here. This is going to be really dangerous. So yeah, that's e5 is definitely a bad move, I would say, just on principle, because when you're ahead in development, you want to keep the position open. If you're behind, you want to keep it closed. That's why in King's Indian, you don't have to really move your pieces, but in like the Sicilian, you gotta really make sure you develop pieces, that kind of stuff. So bishop e7, e5, h6. So I'm not sure about h6. I think that this moves prevent some knight g5 stuff, but doesn't really do too much right now. Maybe black wants to play g5 in some cases, but g5 would just weaken this h5 square, and it's really problematic actually. Now f1, b5. Okay, so b5. So we really see what black's trying to do here. He's trying to open up the queen side and trying to create some kind of weaknesses on c3. And after a3, then a5 is fine. Yep, g3. And now bishop d7. Bishop d7 is not really necessary. You can just play knight c6 right away. Bishop, you can just stay here the whole time because bishop wants to be flexible, especially the French bishop. You can just leave it here or here. You can leave it anywhere. You don't have to really move the bishop anywhere. And after bishop d7, white plays bishop to d2. So I think this is kind of unnecessary. I think that white should definitely go for something like this instead. You want to create some kind of weaknesses here, especially if you can force can't fade. That'd be kind of cool. But you really want to play g6 because after g6, I'm going to knight f4. And now white has a clear plan here. White's plan is just going to play h4, h5, create this kind of weakness, or he can just play h4 right away. And there's always some potential to sack on g6. And another plan that white can do is also h4, h5. It's something that black really has to watch out for, and it's very hard for black to really develop his pieces because his knight's kind of like trapped. And black ever plays h5, you always have knight g5, and this is going to be problematic as well. g6, and look at these dark square weaknesses. It's not very good. So really, right now he has to do something about that. So bishop d2 is okay move, and a4 is a really bad move actually, because the whole point of French is you have to create some kind of counterplay on the queen side, especially if you close the position up like this, because otherwise you're not going to get any counterplay on the king side. It's going to be really hard for black to open up, because look at those white's pieces. It's all points toward the king side. This is definitely a problematic idea, and I think a4 is not very good, because you got to create some weaknesses. You got to play like b4, or maybe knight e6 first and then b4, because let's say he castles and then b4. So I mean, now you have certain types of ideas here. You can always play b3 in case, and black's positions is pretty solid. I mean, you got to develop his knight somehow, but I mean, white doesn't really have too much attack here, and that's the problem with closing up the position. If it was open, then this wouldn't be a problem for white. But yeah, black has to open up this position and create something here. But a4 close up, and it's definitely not good. Now knight f1, I don't really understand knight f1. You really, yeah, I think white doesn't really know what he's doing here. See, this is a close position, so it's kind of hard to maneuver, but you have to have a plan. When you play something like this, you have a plan. So I would definitely have gone h4, h5. This is something like, I don't know, knight h2, and then queen g4. Because you want to just make black waste some time creating some kind of weaknesses in the king side, because that's all you're going to go for, right? Another plan they can go for is let's say h4, knight c6, h5, knight 5. Let's say knight here, rook here. Let's say just play rook b8. Now you can always play f4, f5. See, this is another idea they can go for. Obviously here bishop h4 is kind of annoying, but I mean this is the other idea that white can go for f4, f5. So that's why black has to watch out for this kind of stuff, and he really has to create some more counterplay here. And this opening is not quite the best. Not the best opening, I would say, and because black really shouldn't have played c4 in the first case. You should just keep it and maintain the tension here. So yeah, so that's definitely something that white can definitely consider. But instead he plays knight f1, and after knight 6, queen e2. Here now he plays knight g3 back. So I mean, this is obviously a waste of time. Does not sure what he's doing. He should just play rook d1 here. Ideas knight b3. You can go bishop f4, or no. Maybe not bishop or bishop e3 instead, because really the knight is not really doing anything here. There's nothing here you can attack for. There's no sacrifices they can go for. It just looks pretty on b3, but it's not really doing anything because white's never going to castle queenside. And I mean, this is perfectly fine position for white, and It's not the best line I recommend for sure. But instead, he decides to play g3, b3. Knight takes it. This is just really bad because taking this shows that white doesn't really understand about this bad bishop, good bishop. Because this is obviously good bishop. This is a bad bishop. Why would you trade away your good bishop for this knight, which isn't really doing much? You want to go here, and if he takes it, you take back. It's fine. This bishop's still very, very good. And if you look at these pawns, these are all on dark squares, and black still has a really bad bishop. This bishop's it's gonna be really hard for him to get his bishop out. So that's something that he really has to watch out for. So I'm not sure exactly why I took there, but whatever. C1 doesn't know we're doing anything because white's never gonna play C4 because just take there. Rook b8. Okay, so rook b8 is okay, I guess. What black really needs to do is here. Alright, sorry, just drink some water here. So rook b8, between b5 pawn, maybe this bishop's gonna go somewhere else later. Let's see what happens here. Bishop e3, g5. So this is not the best move, I would say. Because on knight h5, this is pretty much a open square for the knight. This is like very, very strong because black has to keep in mind that this knight still can go places. So he definitely should not play that. He should just keep it closed and continue the plan. Eventually, maybe open it up. But yes, he has knight out too. So maybe something like bishop d8. Let's say, please. All right. So let's just assume that white doesn't do anything. Here, and my roommate is saying something. So whatever. So here. Let's say knight c4. Yeah, so you got a knight here, so that's probably the whole plan. So you bring knight all the way to c4. And that's really the idea. If you have an open square on c4, you have to go for it. So that's really what you gotta do as black. Because otherwise there's really nothing else you can do. And that's the problem with this line, because there's really not much you can do once it gets to this point in time. I don't know why he keeps talking to me. He has to stop doing this. I'm doing a video, but yeah. So knight c4, and potentially he can stack on a3 or b2, because that's really the only thing that black's good for here. He doesn't really have any counterplay on the king side, and it's gonna be hard for either side to really make any progress because white just lost his lesser bishop. This could have been very, very strong. He could have had a lot of potential sacks on g6, something like that. And it was a big mistake for white to exchange that bishop. So let's see here, g5, h3. So this is kind of a weak move. It's not really doing much, but I mean he could go knight h2, knight g4, knight h5. So he would have these two squares of knights, and that would be very strong. Having a knight here to here, having a knight here to here. So that'd be very, very strong. But obviously he doesn't really do that because yeah, this game goes kind of funny actually. So now he goes knight f1. So that's kind of silly, I think, because he has to really open this up. If this bishop takes f6, obviously knight h5, and there's some stuff there. It is knight takes f6, knight e5. Because the problem for black is that he has watch for this, and he can almost never play bishop d6 and exchange out this knight because white can always go f4. So for example, here, and this knight's gonna be here forever. This is a bad bishop. White has a great e5 square, and black's never gonna get out of this bind. It's gonna be very, very hard. I think that black may be almost lost here because the king's gonna be really weak in the center. So that move was definitely knight f1. After f5, white kind of just goes wrong a bit because here I would think that black is still just equal. He's not really that much better because his bishop is just awful. It's going to take a lot of time for him to maneuver his pieces around. And what's usually going to happen is that after g3, let's see what it does. King d8. So this is the right idea. You're going to get king out of the way. King e2. So I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking. Is he going to sack on g5 or something? I'm not too sure. But black should definitely just keep moving his king. Just ignore that threat and just keep going, right? Because really there's nothing what I can do about it. So let's play g4. This is a weak move because you can't really open up the king side like this. All your pieces are kind of stuck in the center, and they can't really get there. This knight can defend g4, and after take, this let's play knight g1, which is kind of weak too, because knight h2, this pawn just hangs. You can't play h5 because this and the pin. So there's really nothing that black can do here, so you're just going to lose a pawn. So this would be very, very, very bad. So in this case, after let's say g4, it says play knight g1 here, so it defends this pawn. a2, h5. This is kind of weak too because now this pawn's gonna be weak. See, once black went into this idea, he really has to. No, he doesn't really have too many options here. He has something like bishop e7, bishop e8 in order to guard against this threat here. Let's say queen e7. Because you gotta be able to somehow defend your pawn and get your bishop into a better square. Because right now, black's piece is kind of like just in the middle of nowhere, and it's not the most ideal spot for him. Because this bishop is kind of just trashed right now. He can't really move anywhere. I mean, he could go on bishop f7, I guess, but I mean, this really doesn't speak too highly of black's position. Of course, he can always go to h2 because you can always take on g4, and this is pretty much the big problem. This pawn g4 is always weak. That's why black should not push this so early. He has to prepare his moves. So let's just go back for a bit here. Yeah, so queen e2, he should just let's play a few moves here. Here, let's say white doesn't know what he's doing. G4, here, and now he's gonna go for this square, right? So pretty much he has to go and protect this. Here, and maybe he can play h5 here or just play bishop f8. And now if he plays h5, he can play knight e7. And I mean, black's position is still pretty solid. You go here, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be very likely for black to win this. Because the blockade is too strong. See, that's the thing. The blockade is too strong. There's nothing really you can do about it. So I mean, the only thing you can try is f4. But here it's kind of the same kind of stuff. And then g3 and f4, and you can always blockade that square again. For example, here, and this kind of blockade is very strong for white here, because this knight's bishop is never going to move anywhere. He actually just go here and trade off the bad bishop for his good bishop, and this bishop is going to just be a pawn for pretty much the rest of the game. So that's the idea that white could have done, and I mean, it's hard to suggest moves for black here because g4 just not a good idea. Or like, it's kind of hard to do this once you lose your queenside counterplay. That's why you really have to keep this side open so you can do something about it. And usually black should cast kingside to push the queen side in that case. But let's go forward a bit. Here it takes h5. So this is free pawn, nothing you can do about it. King d8. And now the best idea is just I think just knight g6. Or I think rook takes h6 works too, because for instance, if knight takes here, you have knight g6, and you can't go here because of here. So you're pretty much just winning this thing, right? So I mean, white's pretty much going to win here. He also has, in case let's say you go rook takes, I believe that knight takes d5 wins, because after this white just up 2 pawns, and this bishop's not really doing too much. He does have a little bit of compensation because the bishop can come here, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think this is going to matter too much. It's queen g5, and this should be well, I mean, if white's more careful, this should be fine. But maybe you can just play knight e3 instead or something. Knight e3, bishop e4, knight takes g4, something like that. So I mean, white had some tactics here that he missed because he decides to play knight g6, which is a terrible move because this is a very obvious tactic to see. So yeah, so after taking this guy, yeah, queen takes, he's just down rook. So I guess we'll just play a few moves, but technically speaking, white should just resign here. He's got a whole rook. You see the technique here. G1, queen 7, so going for this stuff. So this is always a good idea. In the French, you always want to get queen here. This is actually a really strong idea in a lot of French positions, because if you get queen here, you can do a lot of stuff. G7, especially in the closed. King f8, G5, 3, so free pawn, and this should be game pretty soon. So I'm just gonna play the rest of the position out just to see what happens. But white just play on because black's a bit short on time, so he's trying to make him fly somehow. 3 g8, It's 2. Okay, so that's cool. I'm not sure. Okay, so whatever. Takes and there we go, and that's game. So black was being very creative in that game, but unfortunately, I don't think his ideas were strategically sound, but white on the other hand wasn't able to really make too much progress in close positions because a lot of amateurs have trouble close positions because it's hard to figure out what your plan is, right? So that's I guess that's really the way to beat, I guess, amateurs and stuff. You want to get positions closed and make it more of a maneuvering type of game because it's hard to figure out what to do. But it's in the French, you can't really play c4 in a lot of positions unless white really forces you to. Like this is the only type of line I would say that you can play c4 in. It's here, 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 a3. Now c4 is one of the main moves because now you force a weakness on b3. So one idea that I've seen people play is, for example, let's just play a few moves here, here, takes bishop 4. See, this is the only type of idea. Of course, as knight comes here, then it's kind of difficult for black to do much because you don't really want to play this because this bishop doesn't really do much, right? But if this knight wasn't here, let's say instead he plays bishop e3, takes, and now this is the idea that I want to present in the game. I'm just gonna make some random moves here, 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 here. All right, so blah 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 blah. So this is the idea I want to just present. Blah, blah. Here we go. There we go. So queen h7. See, it covers all these squares. And a lot of times, if white castles, you can play g5 and very strong. Another idea that black can do is, you can get a bishop here and you can go here. So this is kind of like a Caro-Kann afterwards, but no, this is very safe for black, and this is definitely a easy game for black to play, especially if white doesn't know what he's doing. So those are just a couple ideas of what could happen. But this is a interesting game. There's a lot of mistakes and stuff, but there's also some important strategic lessons to take away from this game. So all in all, I think it was an okay game. I wouldn't really say anything bad though, because 1500 versus 1300, it's not GM versus GM, so it's fine. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.